Welcome everyone to the Instructional Design Portfolio Workshop. My name is Jennifer Rhodes. I'm one of the career advisors here on the CPD team that will be presenting to you, along with my wonderful colleague, Sandy Brown. She's going to be presenting some parts of this workshop and also helping to field the chat and share some resources. So just a couple of items before we get started. This session is being recorded, as you may have seen and heard. We will be sharing a copy of the recording as well as the PowerPoint afterwards, so you can go back and access this information at a later date. And you are muted and cameras are, we ask for cameras off to minimize distractions. There will be Q&A at the end, and also we will have a survey that we will ask you to complete at the end. And before we get into the content, if you could just let us know in the chat where you're from. I'm coming to you from Northwest Pennsylvania today, and also what interests you about this particular topic at this point in time. It'd be great for us to hear that. All right, so Gabe, I think it's LA meaning Los Angeles and not Louisiana. I'm not 100% sure, but that's my guess. Dawn says Chicago. Sean is, all right. Oh, wow, Canada, okay. Got folks from everywhere. Gabe, yep, confirmed Los Angeles, excellent. Idaho, Vancouver, Utah, Montana, Colorado. Great, someone knows a teacher, wants to create more than just doing teaching. And Saipan, is MP? Oh my gosh, I'm so bad with this. Is that Malaysia, maybe? That's really far away. Seattle, Washington, just graduated. Congratulations, Amy. That's amazing, wonderful accomplishment. Akaya, coming from South Carolina, about one class away from finishing my master's. Like to have a great portfolio. Great. We have folks wanting to transition. Lucero, entry-level instructional design. Cassie, congratulations on that graduation. Sophia, potential employers like to see that portfolio. 100% in instructional design, they really want to see that evidence. Yeah, Jackie's from Orange County. Daniel is enrolled in the instructional design program. Casey, close to finishing instructional design master's, we need to think about portfolio. Amazing, great. Thank you all for chiming in and let us know a little bit more about where you're at and what is interesting to you about the session. So we are going to definitely cover the contents of the portfolio, but we're also going to talk a little bit more about the career decision-making process, helping you to think about what direction you might want to go with this degree. Because not everybody goes K through 12. Some people branch over to corporate, for example. We will talk about what if you don't have a lot of experience to put in that portfolio? What else might you be able to use, or what resources can you access for simulations, for example, or case studies that you can put in there? We are going to give you best practices based on the resources that we have. There's not one exact way to do a portfolio, just like a resume, but there are some factors that you want to keep in mind and some common artifacts to make sure that you include. So we're going to be talking about that. We also see Cassie chimed in, ready to transition from teaching to instructional design, need to pivot my application access to corporate world. Okay, excellent. So just a little slide here, we call access needs. So definitely, if you need to get up and take a break, get something to drink, of course, always welcome to do that. Feel free to move about as you need to. As we mentioned, this presentation is being recorded and will be shared later, the presentation and the PowerPoint that you can access. And our email address. If you do have additional questions that we might not be able to cover, or questions outside of this presentation, careers@wgu.edu is our main contact email. And then please do use the chat for questions so that we can continue to monitor them as they come in. So here is an outline of what we will be covering this evening. So things you can think about when deciding what direction you want to go. How will you decide on a focus area? Then breaking into the field. Students that I've talked to in instructional design, not always, but typically are new to the field and they're looking to break into it. Or perhaps you're making a pivot. Maybe you're not new to instructional design, but you're going from more of a K through 12 setting to corporate. So we'll talk about some strategies to help you to break into the field. Sandy's going to talk to you just briefly about a sample resume for this discipline. It is important to keep it conservatively formatted because, believe it or not, even if you have design skills, you're still going to have to work with that ATS system. And that is very particular and doesn't really pick up on diverse formatting. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the process of creating a portfolio. We do have a checklist on our website of recommended resources. We'll talk a little bit about that, or artifacts to keep in mind for that. Sandy's going to share with you a sample portfolio so you have a better idea of what that will look like in terms of a strong portfolio. Next steps and Q&A at the end. When I do workshops, I like to give 30-day challenges. Now, some of you might not need that challenge to engage with this material right away, since I see that a number of you have just recently graduated or maybe are graduating soon. But I like to give 30-day challenges. 30 days from now is going to be July 30th already. I'd like you to write that down as a target date and think of 3 next steps that you're willing to take based on the information that you learned today. And hopefully, again, that might help to further motivate you to engage with this material sooner than later, because I think we can all relate to, oh, wow, that was a great seminar. There's some things I would really like to try. And then before you know it, months go by and you haven't had a chance to really put this to the test. So I like to give that 30-day challenge to hopefully encourage you a bit more to engage with the material. So starting out, sometimes when I talk to students, they say, hey, I'm open. I would do K through 12, corporate or higher education. You may feel the same way, but it's important to know that your portfolio really needs to reflect the direction that you're going. So for example, if you are used to working in K through 12 and you want to break into the corporate world, you may, in your portfolio somewhere, you may come up with an issue that could be faced in the corporate world about maybe training and development related, and illustrate the problem and be able to use your instructional design skills to, give a snapshot of that training, to talk about your process, etc. It is really important to make sure that your portfolio goes in the direction that you want to pursue, because that's what people are going to be looking for. So when deciding these routes, there are a couple of things to think about here. Choosing an instructional design path comes down to evaluating your priorities, honestly, regarding things like, salary, work-life balance, creative freedom. The corporate sector can offer the highest pay mostly, but demands agility, for example. Higher education provides stability in many cases and collaboration with faculty, while K through 12 can focus on pedagogy and standards-driven curriculum. When taking a closer look at corporate instructional design focuses on measurable business outcomes, ROI, and behavioral change. You'll primarily act as a consultant or a business partner, often designing rapid e-learning courses. So as you see here with the corporate world, pros could be things like high creative freedom, the ability to use cutting edge technology, lucrative potential. Some cons could be potential high stress due to tight deadlines, shifting business priorities, possible layoffs. Corporate world does tend to have the highest pay. 60 to 80 is entry level, with senior roles exceeding 100K. If we are looking at higher education, for that in academia, you typically support professors and subject matter experts in translating their classroom courses into rigorous, accessible online formats. For that, the pros could be typically in higher education, you have pretty good work-life balance. And again, typically strong job stability and focus on learning theory and academic rigor. Some challenges could be bureaucratic hurdles, especially depending on the size of the institution and the type of the institution. Private schools sometimes have a little more freedom than public. Potential for faculty resistance to new technology, sometimes lower resources. Then typically lower salary range than corporate, between like 50 to 75,000 is what we're looking at. For K through 12, design focuses heavily on assessment and curriculum standards. You'll typically work at the district level to create materials that align with state guidelines while supporting a wide diversity of student needs. As you see here, the pros can be, you know, working off of a school calendar, for which for many, if you get your summers off, that it's a definite bonus. Direct community impact, a lot of times job stability. The cons, you may be restricted by strict testing and standard requirements, maybe not as much creative freedom, limited access sometimes to advanced authoring tools. The salary can really vary for these kinds of positions, usually based on the district's teaching salary schedules, typically close to certified teacher pay. So hopefully that gives you some things to think about in terms of direction to go. When we talk about breaking into the field, there are some key points that we want to bring up here. Networking is key, honestly. Just on any field, this is really important, but I would say especially in education, higher education, it really comes to mind. So you might even want to consider using, if you haven't, there's a function in LinkedIn called the alumni tool. And the way you find it really is you can look up Western Governors University, type out the whole page. It will prompt you to select the school page. Then you will see a series of tabs and you'll select the alumni tab. And it will show you a huge amount of helpful data, everything from what everybody majored in to where they live, where they work, what they do, what their top skills are. So you can utilize that to find folks that are either in like instructional design capacity in, say, K through 12 or higher education or corporate. You may even want to look at setting up informational interviews. There are some sample informational interview questions and tips on our website, but this is essentially where you set up a conversation with someone you would like to know more about, reach out to them, tell them about what caught your eye about their profile, explain that you're looking at the next step in your career and seeking advice, seeing if they might be willing to chat with you. There's also a resource called Ask a Grad on our website. Similar function where you can reach out and maybe just say, hey, I'm looking to break into instructional design in the corporate world. Maybe give a couple sentences about your background, see if anyone has any tips or advice. The nice thing about Ask a Grad as opposed to LinkedIn is you're supposed to be guaranteed a response at some point. It's usually within 2 to 3 business days. So that could be a great way to build your network while also honestly finding out more about the field. Then considering an internship, even postgraduate, could be a good idea. So resources like Handshake, which is our main resource that reflects the partnerships that we have with employers. Indeed, of course, is a classic one. LinkedIn. There's another one called Team Ed that is more toward education, instructional design positions. There is higheredjobs.com, which is those positions in colleges and universities. There are company websites for learning and development. You might want to put a focus on that when looking for opportunities. And even State Department of Education websites. It's also important to take a step back and think about what is your value proposition, is what they call this a lot in instructional design. But also it can be referred to as your personal brand. We do also have some resources on our website about personal branding, but essentially you should be able to, in a nutshell, explain what are the skills that you have to bring to the opportunity, what are the unique traits that you have to bring, what are the problems that you're looking to solve, and who is the population that you want to serve. Then reviewing your resume is another great step when you're looking to break into that field and apply for opportunities. Again, Sandy's going to talk about a sample resume here in a moment. Researching professional associations. Now, through some of the preparation I've done, I found a number of them that we can talk about here. One of them is called the Learning Guild. And for these folks, they are focused especially on e-learning, but also instructional design, virtual training, emerging technology. So for this one, anyone interested in instructional design and e-learning can at least sign up for a free membership level, even if you aren't able to attend paid events. Then that free membership gives you access to bi-weekly learning solutions update newsletter, research papers, webinars, ebooks, and numerous other resources. And then there's also the Learning Guild job board that you can access that might help you find some early instructional design jobs. And Sandy put that in the chat. Thank you for the link for that Learning Guild. Then there is the Association for Talent Development, also known as ATD. That's another useful organization for professional development, networking, and job searching. ATD is more focused more broadly on training and development, but they do have plenty of valuable information for instructional designers. You can use their job boards for free. Some of their resources are viewable even without a paid membership. For example, you can view ATD's talent development capability model without a membership, but you would have to pay for the self-assessment that goes along with that. ATD has paid membership both at the national and local chapter level. Then there is the TLDC, that's the Learning and Development Community. It's an organization for new instructional designers or others transitioning to the field. TLDC is a much smaller organization with an ongoing Slack group and multiple online events per year. About half of the online events are free. Others are for paying members only. Membership is only $75 per year, so it can be, very affordable compared to other organizations. There is the Training Magazine Network, and that's if you're interested in free webinars to expand your instructional design and training skills. That Training Magazine Network is a great resource. They do host multiple webinars each week from a variety of speakers and professionals in the field. And you can subscribe to their training magazine for free. The print version is only free in the US, but you can get the digital subscription anywhere in the world. TMN also offers some paid certifications, and Training Magazine hosts 2 in-person conferences per year. Then there's the Learning Development Accelerator. That's LDA. It's a fairly new professional association, began in 2020, as a way to support L&D professionals, especially around sharing and applying research and learning science. They do have free resources such as research reviews, but most of their events either require a paid membership or a one-time fee. LDA is aimed at more at improving the skills of people already in the field of learning and development rather than helping those new to the field. However, if you're interested in learning science and evidence-informed practices, LDA is worth checking out. So those are some resources just to become more familiar with in terms of professional associations, which can also lead to opportunity. Like we said, some of these have job boards as well. And then, of course, creating and promoting your portfolio is which we are really talking about today. So that's important when you're breaking into the field. Now, when talking about not having many or much experience, it's still important to have a portfolio. Even if you just have your capstone, you do want to have some kind of online presence through the avenue of portfolio if you're going into instructional design. So look in to get more experience, like sample simulations to build up more of your background. You can look into e-learning community hubs. These platforms do provide ready-made assets, things like design prompts and inspiration to build high-quality, job-winning interactive scenarios. So some top resources for sample simulations are Articulate e-learning challenges. The Articulate Community Challenge Hub is the industry standard. You can access hundreds of past project briefs, download free template files, and see what other designers are building for their portfolios. There is the Genially Interactive Template. This offers free, ready-to-use structural templates for interactive modules, decision trees, and escape rooms. And then there is also design inspiration. And okay, sorry about that. I thought we lost the connection here, so I wanted to make sure we were still good here. So there is the Genial Templates library that you can access. And then there's also design inspiration from Devlin Peck's portfolio. And he is a big name in instructional design if you haven't heard of him before. He provides high quality sample e-learning simulations, such as compliance training and scenario-based modules. He also has his own boot camp that some people like to enroll in and get more experience there. There is Christy Tucker's ID Resources. She's another big name you'll see out there. She provides excellent resources on her e-learning portfolio resources blog, including tools for generating project sample ideas and tips on what hiring managers look for. Then there's the Freelance ID Facebook group. And this is for instructional designers, e-learning developers, and L&D. This gives you access to their files section, which contains fictitious client requests and design briefs you can use as portfolio prompts. So those are some key resources if you are looking to develop more experience that you can consider. Moving beyond that in terms of, one second here, there was one other, point that I did want to cover here. So in addition to those resources, the type of resource that you might want to develop, whether it is a brief e-learning video or some kind of a standalone document that you might be using. Like all of these can be really good. So next, I am going to turn it over to Sandy to talk about a sample resume and some basic tips for that too.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Sandy. I'm one of the advisors with Jennifer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some resume tips here, and then I'll bring up a sample resume so we can take a look at it. So to start with, typically the format, you'll have a professional summary at the top of your resume. And you do want to, when you're applying for different positions, this is where you begin to target your resume through that professional summary by looking at the job requirements, the qualifications, and how you can include those. It's best to really try to quantify your accomplishments or achievements by adding a number, a percentage, anything that can have a measurable result. Brings in the best types of bullets instead of just task oriented. So think about that whenever you're creating your bullets on your resume. If you can quantify your the task that you're talking about, your accomplishments, because what that does, the more specific you can be and the more measurable results that you have, the more credible you will be. So just got to keep that in mind. Also, begin to highlight your instructional design process. And so what I mean by that is, did you have to do a needs analysis? Was this curriculum development or an assessment design? So you want to use those industry keywords as much as possible to describe your design process. Also mention instructional design models and methodologies where if you used ADDIE or if you use SAM or adult learning theory. So you want to bring in those design models that you've used for your projects. And try to include some relevant tools where that might be Articulate Rise or Articulate Storyline or Camtasia, whatever it is. So try to include some of those relevant tools that you use. You can also include your portfolio link near your contact information at the top. So if your portfolio is ready for the public to see, be sure to have that link near your contact information at the top of your resume. So definitely keep it concise as much as possible and tailor for each position as much as possible. And so just as a kind of a rule or kind of a guideline to go by, typically a one page if you have less than 5 years. If you could get it all on one page, more the better. A lot of times if you have extensive experience, between 5 and 10 years, that might dip into a second page. But, ideally, if you are, starting out in the field, more than likely you'd be able to get your resume to one page. Okay, so if WebEx is going to cooperate, oh, I need to become presenter. Okay, let's see if this will work for me. Okay, does everybody see the resume? Hopefully.
Yeah, looks
Okay,
good.
okay. So, yeah, this is a very um, big sample. It's a resume draft that well, typically this is a typical um, thank you, Gabe. Great, yay. Okay. So this format is typically very ATS friendly. And this can be very simple, very straightforward, where at the top, this particular one has some descriptors at the top, instructional design, educational technology, online and hybrid learning, just to give the reader an introduction to this is what this person does, and then having their contact information. Now, here's that professional summary that I was talking about, where this person, instructional designer with 10 years of experience in educational technology and online learning. And so this is a good beginning. Now, this could be targeted to a specific position. But again, this professional summary on your resume, and you're applying to different positions, this is where, again, you will begin to target your resume to that particular job, particular qualifications, and how you address those in your professional summary, because that's the first thing that they're going to see. Now, this one has professional experience next. And the language that they're using is more of the K through 12 or higher ed. And so the language would be different if it was corporate. So it just makes a difference, on that industry language. And so now quantifying, like I was mentioning before, a really good example would be maybe created and distributed materials that increased engagement with an audience of 500 plus. Produced an annual 75-page publication using Adobe, Microsoft Word, and Canva. So the more specific, measurable results that you can give, the more, like I said, more credible and more identifiable to the employer on your skills. So this has multiple, experience, got lots of experience. And so that's why they put their education towards the bottom. Now, many people, if they're just starting out and they don't have a lot of experience, that education piece will be a little bit further up on your resume. It just is depending on your level of experience. And then they also put their course or their capstone on or the design to canvas course on their resume as well, which is a great idea. And here they put their competencies and their skills. So be sure to have something like this on your resume where you talk about your LMS systems, lining up the ones that have used, uh, um, just to make it easy to read. So this is a very basic sample, and we're going to be kind of maybe reformatting it a bit, but hopefully we will have this or something like this available on our website for you to look at.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandy.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
will stop my share. Cool.
great. Okay, back here. And let's see here. Eh, right. All right. Can you all see my PowerPoint, hopefully, switching back?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, talking about the process of getting your portfolio ready to go and the thought process and things to consider. So, your instructional design portfolio shows employers what you can do essentially. And that's why it is so important in this field, because it really is showing that direct evidence of the technological platforms that you say you can use, of the process that you have used to design different trainings and such. So when employers go to your site and see your projects, this will build your credibility and their confidence in you. And your portfolio does speak louder than your resume. Your resume talks about what you have done. A portfolio shows what you can do. It's kind of a good way to look at it. So when you're considering setting up that portfolio, you want to, have projects that you can showcase. So have those ready to go, then build your website, then market that portfolio. We'll talk about each of these pieces here. So um, for the projects, oops, we're jumping ahead here. Okay. You want to create what is called a flagship project, if you will. So showing your design skill set to solve a real world problem is what that flagship project typically taps into. It could be a performance problem. This may be your capstone even. So think of a job role that you know well, a problem that people face, and devise a solution. So this should include a scenario-based e-learning solution, like writing skills, action mapping, a write-up about the problem and how you designed scenario-based solution to solve the problem should be included. Then supporting projects could be focusing on a specialty, storyboarding, API, data collection, or if in general, focus on short, maybe 1 to 3 slides, visually appealing e-learning interactions, maybe built in a tool like Storyline. Visually, that has visually appealing tab interaction or slider interaction. This could be paid, or you really want to try to have a paid or real project if possible. So, popular project ideas to build, by the way, could be things like software walkthrough. This could be an interactive module using tools like Articulate Rise or Storyline, teaching a common tool. For example, how to use Slack. It could be scenario-based compliance module, which is be a decision tree, for example, project focusing on workplace dilemma, like workplace safety or data privacy. It could be an infographic or a job aid, which could be a visually engaging performance support tool built using Canva or Genially that simplifies a complex process. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on some supporting projects that you could consider. Then looking at creating that website, you want, like I said, we want to have at least one project to start. If you have at least 3 projects, even better. There are different tools that you can use for the website because, for example, like Squarespace or Wix, these are less customizable. There's Webflow, which you typically would need technical expertise for. Same with WordPress, typically we need some technical background. There's Adobe Portfolio, that's a free one. Google Sites free, and then there's Articulate Rise. These are a lot of the common platforms. Then building the site, you want to include what's called a hero image. Picture of yourself in one-line statement about what you do or your value proposition is important. Your about section gets into a little bit more detail about what you do and how you provide the value. You want to talk in terms of who would be hiring you. So for example, do you create nice e-learning interactions? Do you solve performance problems with instructional design? So an example might be, I solve knowledge and skill gaps through dynamic learning experiences that empower diverse learners. Projects and write-ups should be included. So with a write-up, it might be a role you played in a process, responsibilities, problem you aim to solve, challenges you faced, what results you produced. Including screenshots to keep it engaging and link out to a full project is a good practice. Having social proof. is important. So these would be like testimonials. So these could be from, instructors, professors, past employers, supervisors, or have someone talk about your problem solving skills or your communication skills. Some of those transferable skills that are important in the field, maybe even project management skills. And also having contact information. Your email and or I've seen on a lot of portfolios, they actually have a contact form saying, want to connect with me, and then there's a little form that they have you fill out. And then marketing your site, you want to be able to drive traffic. So ways to do this could be once you have your site up and going, thinking about things like putting the address of your portfolio on your top of your resume, in your LinkedIn profile. If you have a business card that you create, or even a student business card, putting it on there. Produce content on your site and share it on platforms like LinkedIn to, again, maybe you have a sample of your work in the featured section in LinkedIn profile. And then you could say, well, for more examples or samples, please feel free to view my portfolio. So that will drive more traffic as well. If you're new to the field, enhancing and refining school projects could be a good practice. So it's important to understand if there's any guidelines with what you can and cannot share, depending on what you were working on. Some folks will even, if they have a project that they worked on that they cannot show publicly, if there's proprietary information in them, they might have a password protected portfolio or a section that the hiring manager can obtain the password and privately view if needed. If you're transitioning to the corporate world, you might include an education project. For example, if you're a teacher, you might mention how or if you were a teacher, you might mention how you know problems that teachers face. Identify a learning solution that can design to help teachers do their jobs better. Similar to corporate world in that you can find maybe a training problem that they might have in trying to train new employees and talk about the problem face and discuss working through that problem. Then the actual portfolio checklist. So we want to take a few minutes to walk you through this because this is really kind of the meat and potatoes of what you want to be looking at. This is on our website as well. A couple points to focus on here. So first point is defining that career path as we talked about before. It's really important that your artifacts reflect whether you are going into K through 12 or higher education or corporate. Um, then you want to curate the portfolio to match the position. So collecting and displaying samples of your work, which are relevant for the position, are essential. You want to adjust your portfolio for each specific position in each industry if you want. The most important samples for the specific job for which you're applying should be at the front of your portfolio to make them more prominent. You, as we said earlier, you can use projects or case studies, showcasing experience with industry tools as well. Then telling the story is important. For that, a powerful instructional design portfolio example doesn't just display your work, it tells the story of specific projects and your journey as a designer. So, for example, one story, as you see here, which you may include in your portfolio, may be a case study that talks about a project's full scope. So, identifying the problem, conducting the related research, overcoming obstacles, and the impact. Excuse me. Also, your portfolio should provide an overview of your career, discussing challenges you faced, lessons learned, and that progression of those key transferable skills like problem solving and creativity. And then showcasing your work with confidence and professionalism. So, similar to what Sandy talked about on the resume about the impact part of the work. So, using clear, confident, results driven language is important. So, instead of saying something like, I helped improve a training for something you worked on, you might say something like, I designed and implemented a learning solution that increased learner comprehension by 30%. You might not always have those numbers, and if you don't, that is okay. It's one of those situations where if you do have the numbers, it's good to include those. Or rather than saying, "Hey, I contributed to course development," when you're providing a narrative for whatever you're highlighting in that portfolio, you might say, I developed and launched a course that improved learner performance and reduced time to competency by 40%. Then the fifth element here, designing your portfolio. So quite honestly, a great way to display your instructional design skills is through the portfolio itself, how you are setting it up. Is it clean? Is it concise? Are those projects relevant? Is it visually appealing? All things to consider. Then networking and building community to expand your reach. So taking actions like attending meetups, conferences, being involved in instructional design communities, connecting with industry professionals can assist you in getting your work in front of those that maybe can lead to opportunity. So when it comes to the actual items and the artifacts, it's best practice to have an intro or a bio. I have seen on some sample portfolios, people will do video introductions, which can be an engaging way to introduce yourself, and also maybe speak to more diverse learning styles to do it that way. So that intro should explain who you are, what you do, what your portfolio is about, and really tap into a little bit of that value proposition. Then your brand identity. So that's that unique identity includes your differentiating factors. Maybe you come from another industry and you might want to consider how that unique experience and skills can allow you to make individual contributions and show you as a real asset to the field. Your brand identity also should be reflected on things like your logo, the color scheme, the typography, all of that together. Then including your case studies and projects. As we said, at least 3 well-documented case studies projects is what is recommended, which showcase your design process and problem-solving skills. Each case study should include the following elements here. So your role on the team, and this is, by the way, this is mostly for corporate, but the product's goal, research insights, things like your demographics, the design architecture, wireframes or sketches, user testing details and mockups, prototypes, the final polished design, results and outcomes. If we're looking at an educational portfolio, things like storyboard, interactive e-learning modules, needs assessments, LMS course builds, microlearning and job aid should be included. The other big thing for education right now too, I know that, for example, I teach adjunct for the Arizona Community College system, and we are in the process of making sure that all of our courses are accessible for individuals with different learning needs. So if you can talk about for an education portfolio, any way that you have been able to make sure that your materials are accessible for those with different learning challenges, that will show that you're thinking about it, and it is one of the areas that they really look for. Okay, so a link for this checklist, we will get that to you here. Um, include many images. So the other thing is adding images of both mobile and web-based versions of the product when you can is best practice. Including images which directly relate to your target jobs. If they want to see that you can conduct a needs analysis, for example, include that, or experience with a specific learning management system like Canvas, have one of the case studies be in Canvas. Again, always be thinking of your audience. Keeping text to a minimum because you do want to make sure it's clean. So keeping it concise, using bullet points, short paragraphs as opposed to a big long narrative is best practice. Utilizing a dynamic layout. So an aesthetically pleasing yet clean and easy to navigate layout, keeping it focused, including links to extra information where appropriate, having a clear navigation. And when you see the samples we're going to share with you, I think they do a great job with, you click on the tabs and it takes you right to where you need to go. It's very easy to find. It's logical, very easy to put together. Include evidence of industry-specific technical platforms. So e-learning software, Storyline, and Rise. So when you mention those on your resume, the whole point of the portfolio, as I said earlier, is to really, how have you demonstrated your skills? Um, a link to your resume. A link to your resume can be a good practice to a good resource to have in there. Your contact information. Then for K through 12 specific skills, a couple of things to keep in mind. Clearly labeling the ways in which your projects solve educational challenges through highlighting accessibility, as I was saying just a few moments ago, accessibility in UDL, discussing ways in which your modules accommodate different learning styles, such as using alt text, closed captioning, providing multiple methods of engagement, standards alignment. So how do those lessons meet Common Core standards, ISTE? If it's adult learning and professional development, including a sample of a training module you designed for teachers, staff, adult learners, or how you can work with adult learners and subject matter experts. I just met with someone today with an instructional design degree who works for Apple, and she unfortunately isn't given the chance to really do instructional design. She's kind of in a different role, and she's trying to transition into higher education. And we talked about one of the sample interview questions for her was, how do you work with faculty who might be resistant to technology and your process? So that would be excellent if that is kind of your area, if you had an example to showcase how faculty might have been resistant and how you were able to get them on board while using some kind of instructional design um, platform, what have you, that would be an excellent example. So for a project or case study, include the following: the overview, which is that target audience, grade level, learning objectives, the problem, the learning that gap that you were trying to solve, your role, what you specifically designed or worked on, the tools you use like Articulate Storyline, Google Classroom, LMS integration, and then the result or artifact. So that final published lesson video or PDF linked clearly is hosted as a screenshot gallery. And then in this check sheet, you'll also see some great links to additional resources. We mentioned Devlin Peck earlier. He has some excellent videos and resources as well as sample portfolios to view. So, and we will get you again the link to this. I'm going to see if it actually lets me, it's going to let me copy this right now. Okay, so I will get that for you, and we'll be able to put that in the chat here toward the end too. So, oh goodness. So Sandy's going to show you some sample, at least one sample portfolio. So I'm going to turn it over to
Mhm.
her to have her walk through this. I'm going to stop sharing here just for a moment so she can, or wait, did you
Oh,
want me to stay on there, Sandy? I'm sorry.
just for a second. Just for a second.
Yeah, let
Yeah.
me go back and make sure we have that pulled up.
Yeah.
And let me
Okay.
get out of
Yeah.
this. Okay,
So yeah, I don't need to be on this very long.
yeah,
Yeah, very quickly because our time is going. We'll look at two portfolios that were built by two different platforms. Stephanie, the first one we're going to look at was built in Articulate Rise. Tanya built from Card. So I'm going to go there right now. Let me share my screen. I need to become presenter again. Okay. Okay, so in a second, you should be able to see it. Does everybody see
yes,
Jennifer's
popping
page?
right up. Yep,
Okay, great. And so Stephanie's portfolio, very simple, but really, really very extensive, but again, very simple, but very direct. So let's just look at it briefly. What do I do? What I'm working on? So she has lots of visual, lots of information, very good detail, lots of different things that she's working on, and providing some selected work for people to look at. I could click on see more if I wanted to learn more about these particular projects. And how I work. This is very important where they bring in uh, kind of looking at those necessary steps. You're IDing the problem. So what is necessary? What is it usable? Let me move the, will it stick? Interesting. So, so she breaks it down to some very, distinctive language to have you understand her and have it very clear. A little bit about her, and she's been in for 20 years. Nice uh, uh, um, description of who she is. You could even download her resume here, and then you can have get in touch. Again, very simple format. Email me, tutorials, templates, and masterclass. Also, links to her LinkedIn, YouTube, Articulate Community. So that is Stephanie. Tanya, a little bit different, where this is more of storytelling. In her homepage, nice picture. Then you can go again, very simple. She talks a little bit about herself. Again, she's a more of a storyteller than Stephanie. So it all depends on you, what kind of person you are, what you want this to be, to be identified for you. And that's why it's important for you to discover your personal brand. What is it that describes you? And then she also gets into her process. How this is how I solve learning problems and create engaging training.
I saw a question come in from Marla. All
Oh,
portfolios need to be a website? Essentially, yes. In this field, I would recommend that because they do want to see your design skills featured in that way.
yeah. So this is Tanya. Very different, very